Hello everyone. Today I'm going to share my input on how to elevate one's soul, raise one's vibration or frequency, more like it. Mr. Keshe often talk about elevating one's soul. It's a very easy process. We are all spiritual beings. Everything we do is expanding and evolving, whether it's walking in the park, doing our laundry, going to sleep. Every part of our life experience is a process of learning and expanding our consciousness. But there are things we can do consciously that can help us expedite the process or raise our frequency up to a much higher level. Elevating one's own soul is a very simple process that most people are unaware they are doing it or unconscious of the process. Here we have a map of consciousness. This map will help us to understand our current state of being, our state of frequency, our level of consciousness. Most people are living in fear, hatred, worry, anger, those state of mind, those state of being in the red, well, kind of orange, and yellow are not very constructive. We are contracting. To have an expansion of consciousness, we have to be above 200. If we look on the left or on the right, less than 200 is destructive, weak. Above 200 is creative, strong. To have an expanding mind, expanding consciousness, we have to put ourselves in a state of being above the 200 mark. Anything below 200, like fear of corona, fear of starving, fear of not whatever, then we are at the 100 mark. The average level of consciousness for humanity at the moment is around, or was around 180. But with the state of the crisis we are having right now, and people are purging on a collective level, sometimes it's kind of flip-flop to different levels. If you look here, fear is what 100. If we live in a state of fear or anger, 150, we are being very destructive to ourselves. We are contracting, we're not opening up. If we are contracting, our consciousness, our frequencies is at a very low level. To elevate our soul, to elevate our frequency, is to bring us into a state of balance so that we can be more expanding. To put ourselves back into balance, there are many ways of, because if we look at this map of consciousness, according to this, in one's lifetime, we only move a few points, less than 10. But with the opportunity of the game of separation is over, we're at the stage where we move to a next development of evolution. There are tools that are available to help us expand our mind and become one with the universe much faster. One of those things that is available is the GANs technology, zinc. Zinc helps balance the emotion. When we are in fear, we down here. But once we apply, when we drink liquid plasma, or we absorb the energy of zinc in its plasma state, we're able to elevate our soul or raise our frequencies. Those are just the same terms to above 200 or 250 in a neutral state. We're in a neutral state where we are calm, relaxed, then our frequency is a lot higher. We are much more expanding. We are no longer contracting from fear or desire or from anger. Now we are at a state of balance. because zinc balances the emotion. So that is one way to elevate our soul, is to bring us to a certain level where we have become self-mastery, where we are become more conscious. We become an observer to our state of being. Okay, I was interrupted. Anyway, to raise our frequency is a very easy process. It's getting back to a state of balance where we can begin the process of expanding our consciousness, elevating our soul, raising our frequencies. Those are just the same term, different terms with the same meaning. Our point is, with GANs technology, with zinc GANs, liquid plasma, we can put our still in a state of neutral, 250 and above. It's a very easy process. It's a very subtle process that takes time. If we apply that process, and if we look back from 3 months, 6 months from now, from the point where we start applying the technology, we will notice how we change. The technology will elevate one's soul to a certain level where we become more conscious, more aware. We become, if you look in spirituality, become an observer of our own actions, instead of being dictated by our own emotions, our limited thinkings, our mental thoughts. If we are trapped within that state of being, we are unconscious of our action and consequences. But if we're able to detach from our thoughts, our emotions, then we're able to come into the observer perspective where we are aware and conscious of our own actions. That's where GANs technology come into place, where it takes us out of to a certain state of being where we become the observer. Traditionally, with the practice of meditation, people meditate to calm down and to return to a state of balance. Another aspect of meditation is when we calm the mind and the emotion down, and then we step into a state of being where we become the observer. In the teachings of yoga, true yoga teachings, yogic teachings, not the exercise part where it has been distorted, it teaches people how to view life. And there is a saying in yoga, I'm not my mind, I'm not my body. If we are not our mind and body, who are we? If we are that observer, who is that observer? If we look from Keshe teaching's perspective, soul of man. Soul of man, when we become the observer, we are looking from the soul of man perspective, not the soul of physicality perspective. When we are caught in our emotions and our thoughts and our feelings, then we are living from the perspective of the soul of physicality. When we become detached, we become the observer, then we're living from the soul of man perspective, at the state of being. To get to that certain level of state of being require a certain time. Keshe plasma technology is not a technology where we accumulate knowledge from an intellectual point of view. It is an experiential process where we have to dive in, make the GANs, interact with it. It's a process of learning and expanding, opening our awareness and consciousness to a level where we become the observer. It's the process of using the liquid plasma for, let's say, 3 months, 6 months. Then we get to a certain point where the elevation of our soul, the expansion of our consciousness and awareness to a certain level of understanding. It is a process. That's why a lot of knowledge seekers is not able to understand, because they're learning from a logical, from a mental perspective, not from an experiential process. This is not a spectator sport. Opening our consciousness and awareness is an experiential process. Yes, it could be done from from a level of understanding from direct cognition, but that is another level of understanding that is beyond the average person. To expand our consciousness and elevate our soul requires, there are two parts, either direct cognition from claircognizance, where we just understand things, we know things from just hearing it, or from experiencing it, like drinking a liquid plasma of zinc. And after a certain time, when we absorb enough energy where we are more balanced, more stable, and that also at the same time, when we work with GANS technology, it's called a detox, it's called a spiritual detox. We let go of those harmful emotions that we are holding within ourselves. We're letting go of limiting thought patterns. Because once we are involved in using the GANS technology, what I call a detox, meaning what we store, we hide within ourselves, become to come out. We have to face it, feel it, and let it go. When we start let go of all those hatred, anger, and those emotions stored within ourselves, we become lighter, more expanded. Disease occurs from emotions stored within the body too much at one location. So when we use CO2 and GANS, we are letting those things out slowly, 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 just by it become drained, as you can say. When they come out, we able to feel, observe, and let go. No judgment. And it is a process, and it could be a very confusing process for some initially when they are drinking GANS and they notice how things start coming up. But just observe, don't judge, observe, and notice how you change over time, where you are no longer being judgmental or emotional, but more relaxed, balanced, and able to become more wise, let's say. So GANS technology is one way to elevate our soul from using it, but not from understanding. It's from using it, and we are changed during the process. So when Mr. Keshe talked about elevating our soul to a certain level, it means we have to start using it and changing and transmuting ourselves during the process. And during the latest teaching of cup of man, to able to absorb the energy of the cup of man to take care of the physicality, that requires a certain level of awareness, consciousness, frequency, or elevation of soul to a certain level of cognition. That means to get to that point, you have to use cup of life, or GANS, zinc, and CO2 and copper for a period of time, where we let go and balance ourselves and expand our consciousness to that level of understanding. If we have not used GANS technology and jump into the cup of man and trying to absorb that energy, there are so many garbage in our mind, limiting thought patterns, emotion, that limit us, prevent us from absorbing that energy. The energy is very easy to control with thought, intention, but we have within ourselves what I call limiting thought patterns that will inhibit us from, that will what you call put a filter in our mind to block us from doing what we need to do, absorbing, feeling, sensing. So when we actually use GANS, or we use other method of what I call inner work, GANS is a quick method. In the past, a lot of people have to spend inner work, meaning facing our demons, facing ourselves, facing our emotions, our thoughts. When we let go, when we purge all of that, our consciousness will expand. It will no longer contract. Those are called inner work. GANS help us expedite that inner work, help us to bring to a state of balance faster, raise our frequency, expand our consciousness faster, to a certain point where we are able to better attain self-mastery. To get to a point where we can understand and feel and absorb energy without us interfering ourselves. Most of the time, it's our fear, our limiting thought patterns that are blocked, that place a filter on our ability to feel, sense, and absorb energy. That's when Mr. Keshe said, to be able to work with a cup of man, we have to get to a certain level of elevation of the soul. That means inner work. From a spirituality perspective, we have to do inner work. And GAN's technology is one way to expand our consciousness in a very fast manner by raising our frequency, putting us in a state of neutrality, willingness, acceptance, reason. So elevation of the soul, expansion of consciousness is a very easy process if we understand the working of it. If we are willing to do the work instead of spectating and logic our way through. Logic is very limited to the facts that we have available. Again, let me recap. To expand our consciousness, elevate our soul, raise our frequency is, if we look at the map, from fear to neutrality, we can meditate, we can take a walk in the park, or do whatever we love, we like to do, to express ourselves, to bring our state of balance, we can do. GANs is just another tool we can apply and use to bring us to a state of balance, to help us do our inner work easier and faster, to elevate our soul. That's why when you look at people that engage within this technology, how they change drastically within months or even years, depending on how many layers you have to peel off, how much inner work you have to do. Some people require less, some people require more, depending on the stage of development. Again, elevation of the soul, expansion of consciousness is a very easy process. Everything we do, every experience we have is the process of learning and expanding the soul. But on a physical level, to expand ourselves, to expedite the process, to bring us back to a state of balance, that's where GAN's technology come into place, along with other things. When people are able to reach a certain level of understanding, awareness, we can apply other methods like energy videos or more basic stuff. When you're just beginning to wake up, become more conscious, is meditation. Or even simpler that, take a walk in the park, in the forest, let the trees and Mother Nature bring us back to balance. There are many ways of bringing back into balance. This is just one way. Keshe Plasma Technology, GAN's technology is one tool to help us on the process of self-mastery. And I wish everyone luck on that journey of exploration